What's happening, everybody? It's Eric and Will from the Mature Minded Gamers Group wanting to invite you to join us. Go to our website, maturemindedgamers.com. You can hop into our Discord, talk track, board games, video games, whatever you like. We are here and ready to game. Today, though, is our Star Trek podcast. We are covering episode 2 of Star Trek Discovery. The title for this one is Far From Home. And so we had speculated a little bit last week, Will. When were we going to see Discovery? Well, that was what this whole episode was about, wasn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so we get their whole landing or coming into the new 930 years in the future. And well, actually, it turns out 931 years into the future, huh?
Right.
So, anyways, we'll get to that. So the opening scene, we see the whole bridge crew looking dead. Did you think anybody was dead right there?
I was going to say that I thought that the cyborg, I can't remember her name.
Detmer.
Detmer. I thought Detmer was like dead because her eyes were open.
Well, there was a couple of them that looked really dead, but obviously as it kept going, I'm like, well, they can't all be dead.
Right.
And so, but yeah, I was like, man, okay. And so we find out that Jet Reno there, our new favorite engineer slash whatever she is.
Absolutely. She's awesome.
Yeah, she references as being tidal forces, and they're supposed to be like G forces, and that's what knocked everybody out. So everybody was just knocked out, and we see the ship crashing down, and the crew slowly wakes up, and end up being Detmer making a great landing, and everybody cheers. She goes flying over and hurts her head, and everybody cheers when they finally get landed. Great job, great job. But she is. I thought, is this a concussion? Because they're really playing this out. Normally you don't see a concussion like that.
Right.
We'll talk more about that as we go. But so she gets them landed, and they bunch of injuries. They're going to sick bay and trying to do repairs, and things are looking okay at the moment. And we find out that they're on the planet, and they scan it, and again they do not think they're on Terra Elysium either. So we seen that happen with Burnham, Michael, thinking that
Mhm.
too. And so that's an interesting thing. I'm anxious to see how it spit them out in different locations, but we'll get there in a second. And then one of my favorite scenes pops up here. We get Giorgio coming in for the first time seeing her, and she's got Leland still all over her from where she murdered him from the end of season 2, which is great. And that's one of my favorite lines is as she walks up, Tilly says, "You have some Leland on your shoes." I thought that was really great.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Right. So we see Stamets and we see Colbert and Medbay. Colbert's being real protective of Stamets, which is, kind of been the arc of season 2, really. Detmer's in sick bay too. We see one of her crew members actually has passed away, and it really seemed to shake her a little bit. And she asked the med doctor right away, like, is he dead? And it's like, yeah. And so you start to see more of maybe why she's so distraught, because she
Well,
realizes that potentially killed people, I guess. I don't know. I would think the other way around, that she saved a bunch of lives. But well, what do you think's going on right there?
it almost as if she can't hear anything that's happening sometimes. I mean, that's just kind of how the audio is portraying it a little bit, I guess, where the people are talking to her and she's still maybe in like shock or something. I think maybe there's something wrong with her neural implants.
Could be. I was thinking they were just kind of portraying her as having a concussion or being in shock, 'cause that's how they normally do it on TV. But yeah, I never thought about that. It may be some damage. Of course, the doctor scans her and says
Cleared
she
her.
doesn't have a concussion. Yeah.
Right, but what about they didn't look at like the implant, did they? I mean,
Uh,
physically there may be nothing wrong with her, but what about the actual like tech?
right. I thought maybe she is kind of reliving the experience from when they crashed in the Shinzu the first time, and she got that implant and everything, kind of very similar situation. So
I
so
never
I
thought
thought
about that.
I thought maybe she was kind of reliving that. Maybe we'll get more of that here in the next, the rest of the season.
Oh, I'm sure we will.
So what are you thinking so far here?
So I'm digging what's going on. I like how Saru, thank you very much. I'm liking how Saru's kind of like taking charge and making sure that everybody knows the focus is inside the ship, and we're worried about what's out there. I know that's what we do here. It's in Starfleet and everything, but we need to make sure that we're here to because we don't know exactly what's out there. We don't know if we're going to be hostile. We don't know if we're welcome. We need to be able to get our shit together before we can worry about what is going on in their shit.
At least to the crew, the
to the
main bridge
bridge,
crew. Yeah.
right? And I guess I didn't realize at the end of season 2 that there was actually so many people on the ship still. I thought it was just that main group that was kind of in the hallway talking to Michael saying, "Hey, we're not going anywhere."
Yeah, I kinda got confused, and we actually hear the number later on in the episode. There's, what, 90 of them, I think, roughly.
Yeah, I think it was
Um,
88.
yeah,
But there may have
and
been 90 because we knew we lost a couple.
right. So the next scene we get is Saru and Tilly and Nahan and Giorgio. They're all in the ready room, discussing how to proceed. Basically, now Giorgio is being basically very Giorgio-like and rejecting Saru's leadership. You can tell she kind of feels like she wants to lead. I think, but Saru never backs down, and we seen, and I don't remember this being this bad. We seen Giorgio really diss on Tilly, and I know this Giorgio liked the Tilly from the other universe, from the mirror universe, more than this Tilly. But man, she really like laid her down, and you tell it really hurt Tilly quite a bit. They're discussing what they're going to do. They scan. They found that there is life on this planet. There is a settlement. They're going to go and explore it while the rest of the crew work on it. Saru basically says, "Okay, me and Tilly are going to go," and both Nahan and Giorgio are both like, "What?" And you can tell Nahan, even apologized to Tilly, like, "Sorry." And so, it's just Tilly's having a bad day so far. Saru is like, "No, we're going." And so they leave and they're going out and they have a really nice, heartfelt conversation. Man, I just thought that was it. This is probably my favorite one-on-one conversation through this whole episode. Just talking about, her insecurities and how she deals with it. And Saru, it mentions, that she's really good at first contact, and she has her good qualities and stuff like that as they're kind of walking. And we end up seeing someone watching them in the distance. So they end up
Hold on,
following.
hold on. I
Yeah,
want to talk about that conversation.
sure.
So I thought it was really awesome how. So when you're talking about how it was, she's really good at first contact. I took it more as a that there's no better person that represents who we are as Starfleet, and you're the best one that's going to be able to make those judgment calls and make sure that people that we are compassionate, and I think she's the most compassionate person that they have on the ship right now. And I think he did make a great call in bringing Tilly along. Now, is she the most combat oriented? Well, no, but I mean, you think about Saru now. I mean, with those with that the phalangi or whatever falling off. I mean, he is combat capable.
Right. I had forgot about that. But we'll get to that here in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, he was already a badass, really, super strength and stuff. But now he's got, yeah.
Right.
Anyways, so they end up following this guy, right?
Hmm.
And they start seeing some mining equipment and some blast marks. And Tilly references, it looks like somebody was, shutting these pieces of machine down by blasting them and stuff. And so we don't really know what we're going to expect. And this guy walks into a cave and they follow him. And then boom, they just get teleported inside this, like a bar or a tavern, right? I mean, that's what it kind of looked like.
Oh yeah. So
And
something about that bar though. I mean, did it make you feel like we were watching either an early episode of the Next Generation as far as like the set scenes or maybe like an episode of the original series? You know what I'm talking about? Where like when you saw the sets, it was like the solid color backdrops, and it was just had the set pieces, like the maybe the chairs and the tables and stuff. For whatever reason, I got the huge feel of that. Maybe it was that open like window or like the entryway that was all just like white and you saw the sky and stuff. But for whatever reason, I really dug the minimalistic set that they had with this one, and I thought it was fantastic.
right, and they did the tavern amazing. Like you walk through the swinging doors, just like just
Right.
like just like the old western doors, and then the next scene where they pan through everybody in there looking at them, and like just like an old western, or looking everybody up, and trying to see what their intentions are, and then you even see them put their hands on their weapons, just like a western, man. They end up being friendly, and the one guy even knows what Starfleet is, which kind of surprised me, and I hope we find out more about that story before they actually go into the tavern. We get a shot back on Discovery with Giorgio and Nahan talking about the ice that's starting to surround the ship, and so now we're starting to see that, okay, this isn't, this isn't just stuck in the planet. There's actually ice like engulfing the ship,
Hmm.
and you're like, okay, well, here's our our crutch, or here's what we got to beat to get this ship off. It's not just repairs and then we fly out. We're now on a time schedule, and so they're talking about it, and you can see it surrounding the ship. They have a really good conversation between themselves too, where they're talking about why are you here? Why did you stay with Discovery? Why didn't you stay back in
Hmm.
their previous time? And I thought that was really nice, and uh, both of them had good reasons. I love how Giorgio said, I like to go to different universes, and I thought that was very clever since this is her third one that we know of, maybe more.
Right. And who
And
knows? Yeah. Oh
so
yeah.
and Nahan gives her reason that she's there for. Oh, I didn't write down her name. Who was the one that died?
Oh, the old security officer, wasn't it?
No, the cyborg.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, I can't think of her name. She or she's there for her because she wasn't even in security and she sacrificed herself to save, the greater good. And so this Nahan feels like she needs to do her part now. And so I thought that was really good. And then we get them walking out and they run into Linus. And so if you remember Linus, I think he was in 1 or 2 episodes last season. He had the very funny sneezing incident in the turbo lift where he sneezed all over that annoying science officer. You remember that?
Hmm.
He's got the big eyes. And the reason I'm bringing this whole scene up is because Giorgio takes a very keen interest in his visual spectrum,
Right.
and he even brags about it. And that is going to turn into something. What do you think was going on there?
I think she is going to use him not for the crystallines or the ice issue that they were talking about earlier. I think she's going to use them to be able to track the direction they went, where they went, and things like that. I think that was more of what she was using him for. And the cyborg's name, by the way, was Arium.
Arium, yes, thank you. Yeah, I think there's something else going on, and I don't I think that's going to slowly play out later on this season. I don't know what she's up to. I don't think it had anything to do with tracking them though. I think there's something else
Really?
going on. Yeah. I'm
Like
really
what?
interested to see. I don't even know yet, but I think she's working on something.
Yeah, she's always
Maybe
scheming something.
she's always got something going on, and I think it's something big. So we'll see. I might be wrong. You might be absolutely right. It may have just been for her to track them down.
Right. So something I wanted to talk about in the bar before they kind of made buddy buddy with what was his name, Cal.
Cal was the one that
Yeah,
repaired the. Yeah.
yeah. So before they made buddy buddy with him, I mean, they were like pointing guns at each other and everything, and it was Tilly that again stood up and said, the Starfleet regulation, blah 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 blah. I even know the numbers, and basically proved to Cal, say, hey, we are Starfleet. I thought that was fantastic. Again, she comes in and saves the day. So I mean, obviously, it was the right call to bring Tilly, and she just proved herself yet again to what she really means to the crew, and why Saru had made the right decision to bring her.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I mean, they end up, making a deal with each other. They end up
Uh-huh.
repairing that broken equipment with this thing that they called fixing material, I think is what they referenced it as,
Right.
which seemed really cool. And obviously, oh no, programmable matter is what it
That
was
was it.
called.
That was it.
And Tilly's amazed by it, but she's trying not to give away her outdated technology age or however you want to say it.
Right.
But yeah,
So
so
what is
go
the
ahead.
material that they're actually after? Rubidite or something like that? Because it's not dilithium. It's not. I mean, it was. They talked about rubidite or something like that. So I remember it started with an R, and I'm thinking, well, I don't even recall ever hearing that before in Star Trek lore and
Yeah,
whatever.
I never heard of it either, but it was used for they were trying to repair communications, right?
Right.
And so I don't know. Yeah, it threw me off too.
Hmm. But it's
But
like that fixer thing was able to basically almost like synthesize that type of material.
yeah, and it was super quick. It was really impressive.
Right.
And then Cal even says, "Well, maybe I can join Starfleet." So you can tell this is something that he's really wanted to do his whole life. And like I said, I really hope they tell more about that story and why he
Knows so much
thought,
about Starfleet.
yeah, and why he thought they were going to save him, this whole time. And because
Right, which brings you to question as far as like if this was even similar to the time frame. This is kind of why I was thinking, well, maybe that's not even, like Burnham and Discovery are like in completely, like as I talked about in our last episode, completely different time zones here, is the fact that Starfleet was in the past, like several, like what did they say, 120 years ago or something like that was the lithium explosion, the burn or whatever.
Yep.
So, I mean, not many people know about Starfleet, or
Yeah.
they know about it, but it's not like it's something like, oh, Starfleet's a thing still,
Yeah. And now that we know from the end of the episode, I wonder if it's something that Michael has done, or possibly these people have really long lifespans too. So
That's true.
maybe they do remember what the Federation was before.
Yeah. I didn't
It's
put that together.
it's hard to tell there, but so next up we get Zara, who is their, the evil guy basically coming through with none other than spurs on his boots. Here is our Western villain. He
Right. And
comes
I love how
in.
they pan up.
Right, right. So we do hear that he is the courier, and so that's a second reference. Remember, that's what book was. And
Hmm.
so these people, there must be a lot of them. And then they do reference taking uh, the loot from Discovery and the other items back to the market, the Tellarite exchange. And so that's twice. So we're either in the same district, the same area,
Hmm.
both the
The
ships
same,
have landed very close to each other, and there's
yeah.
only or there's these Tellarite markers all over the place.
I think it's the same planet.
I wondered that too, but man, surely we would have seen some of that asteroid hanging over the top, right? Or the planet that was hanging up in the sky and stuff.
Oh, but and that's the thing is we saw that at the beginning of the first episode. It wasn't so much asteroids; it was more like explosions of ships and stuff, wasn't it?
Well, I don't know. And the other thing is we know this is a year difference too now, so maybe
Right.
something's happened to the planet. Yeah, who knows? I was gonna go with they were in the same system. I didn't think they were
Sure.
in the same planet, but yeah. So, anyways, the bad guy comes in and wreaks havoc and wow, just murders the shit out of Cal. Did not see that coming. I thought Cal was probably going to end up joining the Discovery after that little heartfelt talk with Tilly.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's just not going to happen. So this weapon, like, is a punishing weapon apparently. As we find out a little bit later, it's not instant death, but it sure to hell looked like it, like slowly killed Cal.
Well, man, it definitely felt like it was more, um, like you said, punishing. I mean, more painful, more like a pain stick kind of thing, but also caused like internal bleeding or whatever. Definitely was an instant death. I mean, you think like the disruptor pistols and things like that. I mean, they could just, if it's set to kill in the Starfleet setting, it just vaporizes people. You
Right.
know, this definitely took a long time for him to die.
Yeah, and it looked terrible, man. I felt bad.
Right. 900 years in the future, you think they'd perfected the way to kill somebody, but maybe they just make it more painful. I don't know.
Well, no, I think you're right. I think they did it on purpose. I think it's that gun is made to torture and slow down the death of the person. Yeah, it was bad. And so, you know what I wanted to see though? I wanted to see one of those miners use one of their guns. I wanted to see what the hell that thing was,
Yeah.
but we never did see that. But okay, so they end up killing Cal, and Saru holds his ground though and wants to negotiate with this guy. And at one point, they're willing and dealing, and they send scouts out, and he's going to send Tilly to go back to the ship. And this is when we find out that the ice is parasitic. And it
Mhm.
sounds like, Tilly's going to have a hell of a trip and might not make it back. And then lo and behold, I think Giorgio got herself captured. But, anyways, they throw Giorgio in and say that, she was there. And man, the guy did it to himself. He said, "This is your support." And as soon as he said that, I'm like, well, she's going to end up killing all you guys. And so they throw Giorgio in there, and she does her Giorgio things. And Saru, so this was interesting, and this comes back to a thing you said earlier. Saru tells Tilly to get behind the counter. Like, don't even try to fight. Like you said, he knows that she's not a good fighter. And so she does. And I kept thinking, surely she's going to grab that miner's phaser and start helping, but she never did.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's just not Tilly, I guess. Maybe we're not going to see her do that kind of thing.
Well, I don't think
So
she's like what Starfleet doesn't represent that. I mean, you've got your different positions, and she's not tactical.
yeah, but man, I
She's
would like
definitely the science officer. Good.
I,
Sorry.
I mean, sometimes you gotta kill. You gotta take somebody out, a bad guy like that. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. So they end up going back and they end up wiping everybody out except for the main guy. Giorgio breaks a couple necks, phases some people, and I forgot to mention before that all happened, before the fight, we see him using that weapon on Giorgio like 3 or 4 different times. That's how we knew it wasn't instant death. It was kind of a torture thing.
Right.
And, and I think she says, that she enjoys it or something like that.
It's her foreplay.
Yeah. And so we get them back in control. They have they got Zara, all of his crew's dead. Giorgio's ready to kill him, but Saru won't let it happen. And Saru ends up telling the one miner who's left. I think there's only one of them left in there. But we do know that there's 50 of them because they referenced it when they were talking back and forth. So there's definitely more of them somewhere. And he ends up telling him, you can do whatever you want with this guy, and you get his ship and all this stuff. And he foolishly lets him go out. So he gives him Tilly's pack, which I don't know what was in that pack. Did we ever see that? That traveling pack that Tilly had? Did it have her phaser and stuff in it?
Well, yeah, remember it had the old tricorder, and then it had something else, but it was just old tech. Remember that? Because Zahar, is that what his name was? Zahan?
I put Zara down. I don't.
Zara, yeah, whatever his name was, inconsequential at this point. They were going through it, remember? But something, an important part of that scene I feel like we need to talk about was when he is basically telling the miner guy, the bartender, if you will, to shoot him, or I'm gonna come and kill you all or whatever. And he puts the weapon down, and I think he sees that, Starfleet is here. He really appreciates them and understands that, man, these are my people. These are the people that I want to be like,
That's
and
true.
He is true like this race. They even said something about earlier in the episode that we are Federation or something like that, didn't they? I feel like they said something about, we are the Federation, or we were part of the Federation, or something to that nature that made me feel like, man, these guys in somehow represent what the Federation used to be, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
I got some sort of sense that they were sold onto those same values the Federation did.
yeah. I think they did reference something like that they had the same values and things. I think you're right. So, anyways, he ends up letting him go out to to try to survive on his own. That guy says, "There's no way I'll make it," but I mean, this guy's going to be the villain the rest of the season, right? I mean,
yeah, more than likely.
I think he's got to be. I mean, you don't let that happen. So I think this guy's going to be the villain. We're going to see him the rest of the season until they finish him off at the end or whatever happens. So they let him go, and then we see some more advanced tech. So I'm surprised that the amount of technology that we're seeing advanced over this 1,000 years. I kind of assumed technology wouldn't have advanced as much, kind of like there was a slowdown or something, kind of like a backlash from control, if that makes sense. But we're seeing, that this guy, the miner guy, gives Saru the personal transporter and, gets him right back to the ship. And so this is, a very common item. We've seen it both episodes several times.
Right.
And so, and then we've seen the phasers, we've seen a bunch of the advanced pieces of the mining equipment floating up in the air and, all kinds of stuff. Obviously, technology has not slowed down.
Well, maybe that personal transporter is like the cell phone of today's age. Everybody's got one. You may have an extra.
Right. It's weird. Like, I should have realized that, we're 1,000 years ahead. We're going to see a lot of cool stuff, but I don't know. In my head, I kind of thought, no, there won't be that much different. They're going to play it off as technology slowed down, not much more advanced. The ship is still strong, but I don't think it is. Do you? I think Discovery is going to be super underpowered and not very strong.
I think it's their speed and their ability to travel that's going to make them the powerhouse.
Well, can they spore drive though?
They still have dilithium. They can still warp.
Oh, that's true. I guess I didn't think about that.
I mean, I'm not saying they will, but I mean, the spore drive is still there. They still have Stamets.
I didn't know. Well, I don't know. I didn't know where they ended that whole thing because I kind of, we've had several times them say, no, we're not jumping anymore. So I don't know where their status is.
Right. No, you're not wrong.
So I guess we'll see. So in between all this we have going on, we have a couple scenes back on Discovery where Stamets and Reno are both still severely injured, but stubborn, and they're trying to help get the ship repaired and work together, and they're basically just jabbing each other back and forth with their words,
which was great.
Right. And they end up, finally getting this thing repaired after the ship's getting crushed, and they have to, they have to bring Culber back to make sure Stamets is okay because he starts bleeding real bad. And yeah. Anyway, so we get that whole scene. I'll be honest, it wasn't my favorite. I love Reno. I love Jet Reno, but I didn't like the humor that I don't know. Maybe that's always been her humor, and we just got small doses of it. But I felt like it kind of got old in this long scene with
Really?
him. Yeah, I don't know. I'm
I thought it
almost
was fun.
I didn't like how she dissed on the guy cleaning up the biohazard. Like, oh, I already forgot your name. Like, I don't know. That seems kind of insulting. I mean, I don't know. I guess that's the character. It just
I thought it was great. I mean, she's not your typical Starfleet respect, your superior officer, care about everybody officer. She's a more of a gruff, independent, sarcastic, fly at the seat of your pants kind of person.
man, I guess. I don't know. It
I
just
thought I
wasn't
thought she's fun. She's a different take on a character which we have never seen before. But yeah, I
that's
can understand how you didn't like it.
that's true. It's not that I didn't like it. I don't know. It's weird. She was definitely one of my favorite characters from season 2, besides
Mhm.
Pike, obviously. I don't know.
Right.
It was just almost a little
Too much?
disappointing. I don't know. I don't know what I didn't like about that whole scene, but I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. I guess maybe that just struck me wrong right from the start.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
guess.
so we go back and we kind of missed when it actually happened, but we talked about it earlier. So during that whole fight in the tavern, Saru shoots out his little spikes out of his where his ganglia
Mhm.
was. We've seen that one other time in season 2, I believe. I think it only happened one other time when they were fighting that the people who suppressed his world. I can't think of what they were called, but yeah. So holy crap! I mean, I don't know for sure, but it looks like he can just do this whenever and regrows them pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome. Like you said, he's lethal now. Though it didn't kill that person, but still,
Well,
he probably could have if he wanted to.
he shot Zahar, what I can never remember his name. I mean, you could see the spike sticking out of his arm when he was getting up to go to leave out of the bar.
Right. So yeah, it was pretty awesome. So okay, they get back to the Discovery using that personal transporter. They give it all she's got, and it's not looking like it's going to make it. I did find it really funny that it was kind of rocking in the ice because ice, breaks. Now I get it was parasitic ice, so it's fine, but it still kind of struck me a little wrong. So they're rocking the ship trying to get it out, and it's losing power, and it's not looking well. And then all of a sudden, a tractor beam grabs onto them, and you're thinking, "Oh crap!" And they even reference that, this is one of Zara's bigger friends or whatever, that he referenced. We're going to come and try to salvage the ship, and so you're thinking bad things here. And then all of a sudden, they get a communication, and their ship is getting pulled out, and the systems are starting to come back online. They get weapons on, and there's kind of a quick moment where they can either start firing on this ship trying to break the tractor beam, or they can hell them. And Saru does the Starfleet thing and hells them. And there's
Absolutely.
right, and then there's a pause, like, and I thought, are we, is this like some kind of computer AI that's doing this? Did you kind of think that?
Yeah, I didn't know exactly what was going to happen. I
Yeah,
mean, just because what tractor beam would be able to break them free that their thrusters wouldn't be able to break them free of this ice, but all of a sudden this tractor beam could just like, "Boop, okay, you're free." I mean, really?
right, and Saru or whatever whoever's seen the ship come in said there's a big ship over us now. So it made it seem like it was like a big ship too, and so I just was not expecting it to be Michael. But it is. It's Michael, and she's got long hair, and the crew, or well, Saru automatically triggers on that, and it's like, well, what has happened to you? And then she tells him, I've been waiting on you, looking for you for a year now.
Well,
So
but she says a long time, and then when she says, "I've been looking for you for a whole year," I'm like, a year is not that long of a time.
that's hilarious because I thought the same thing when she said a long time. I thought, ooh, how long is
10
this?
years, man.
Right.
Yeah, no,
So
I called it. I gotta say, I called it because that's what I said last episode, that was the differential as far as like when she came out, when Discovery came out, is 2 different time zones.
right. And so yeah, we get this, and then that's the end of the episode. Did you watch the end or the previews for next week?
I did not. I like to try to wait and be kind of excited or kind of like coming in blind to the next episode personally.
Well, I'm going to spoil it for you, so cover your ears, you
Oh
small
no,
child.
here it comes.
We see them reunited on the same ship. Obviously, that's going to happen. But we see them going to Earth, and we see several new crew members that I've never seen before on Discovery. So I don't know if this is crew members that have always been on the ship that we don't know about, or if this is new recruits. Maybe, people who were in Starfleet before Starfleet's no more and are now going to join the ship. So yeah, I'm super excited. We see them hugging a big tree, which I assume is them actually being on Earth.
Hmm.
But yeah, so
I
I'm
wonder
in.
if it's recruits that Burnham actually recruited in her endeavors over this past year to reformulate Starfleet.
Oh, that's a good call. I didn't even think about that. That might definitely be. And we see Book with them too. So I think Book is they're either on Book ship. Book ship is the one that saved Discovery, or they're going to meet up with Book, one or the other.
Book's part of this show now.
Oh, definitely.
100%.
Definitely. I just didn't know how they were going to play him, but yeah. I had this brief moment where I thought that maybe Burnham and Book had kids and stuff. And so when she held him, I thought maybe we were going to see like a little kid pop up. Like, it's been 5 years and I'm married and have kids now or something. But they didn't do that. But they just made her look. They made her the longer hair, made her change her appearance so much. I kind of wondered if they were going to do something else, but they didn't. At least not that we know of yet.
I was thinking, man, in a year, even when my hair did grow, I don't think I could grow that much hair in a year. So her hair was short, and all of a sudden, I mean, it's down to her back of her small back, isn't it?
Yeah, it was kind of hard to tell, but yeah, it was definitely longer. So Will, what would you rate this episode?
That I actually liked it more than the first episode. I did enjoy the first episode of season 3, but I think I liked it more than the first episode. I'm gonna go with an 8.5 actually.
So I'm the exact opposite. I like the first episode just a little bit better. Not that I didn't like this episode, I did. I gave last week's episode an 8. I would give this one probably an 8 as well. So, maybe a little bit under the first episode, but still great episode. There's a couple things I mentioned as we talked about it that I just didn't like. The whole Jet Reno thing just kind of really turned me off a little bit. I didn't like how the ship. I didn't really like the ice villain. How the ice is parasitic. I don't know. It was fine, I guess. They just did some things that weren't really. I don't know how to word it. I guess I would almost the ship rather have just been damaged from the landing.
Dude,
I
how
don't,
many times do we have like a villain in the Next Generation or any of the other series that's like, really? That's a little far fetched, Oh, this thing is sucking off the energy cells of the computer. Oh, it's just a baby. It's just poisoning the milk or whatever. Ah, that's crap. I mean, this is the same kind of thing.
I guess you're right. You're right. And like I said, it was a good episode. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it a lot. All right. Any final thoughts? I think we covered
Uh,
everything, didn't we?
yeah, no, I think we hit everything that I wanted to talk about. I think this was just a fun. I'm so excited to be getting into this one. And we're in the kind of like the other opposite spectrum of the world of Trek that we've ever really known before, and not just on distance but on time. And I think this is great. We saw before the Star Trek, as far as like we've seen the Enterprise, the show the Enterprise, but now we saw Pike, and then now we're seeing the opposite end when Starfleet's not even there. And this is just opening up a roadmap to anything is possible now. And this is great. I'm stoked. I can't wait to watch more.
All right, everybody. Thanks for checking out our podcast. Make sure you go to our website, maturemindedgamers.com. We do board games, video games, and much more. Have yourself a great night.